Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining me, Phyllis Weimar, as I share a few vagus nerve reflexology self-help tips with you, as well as a glimpse into vagus nerve reflexology. Before I begin, I want to offer my heartfelt thanks to a few people that have touched my life deeply. My nephew, Billy Haig, for his adventurous spirit, who taught us to look beyond our challenges, to live life to the fullest with joy. My best friend Anne in Indiana, whose love and friendship propelled me toward my heart's desire for over 4 decades. My friend Bruce for his support and encouragement to honor my spiritual gift and share it with others. And finally, to Dr. Stephen Porges, humble researcher and originator of the polyvagal theory concept, who has graciously allowed other healthcare professionals and healers like myself to integrate his vagus nerve principles into their practice. Thank you, Doctor. Now, what is reflexology? It is a healing body work because the entire body is reflected on both hands or both feet. There are reflex buttons in the hands and feet that correspond to all systems and body parts via the nervous system. Applying gentle finger pressure to these reflexes can help us relax, de-stress, and activate our internal healing process. Why is that important? Because vagus nerve reflexology, or even conventional reflexology, works on both physical and non-physical aspects of our being. We have a mind, we have emotions, we have a spiritual aspect to ourselves, we have a psychological aspect to ourselves. And what has been fascinating to me is to discover that the vagus nerve affects us on all these levels. I am showing you this slide for those who might be watching who cannot hear my presentation. So I'll say it again, that in reflexology, the entire body is reflected on both hands and feet. The reflex points in the feet and hands correspond to all systems and body parts via the nervous system. Applying gentle finger pressure to these points can help you relax, de-stress, and activate our internal healing process. And we are going to focus only today on the vagus nerve reflexes on the hand. Vagus means wandering. And the reason that it means wandering is there are two vagus nerves that originate in the base of the skull. They extend into the skull, up into the skull, down into the neck and torso to the waist via 10 main branches that radiate via smaller branches to the front and back of the body. Now, the vagus nerve network is comprised of two aspects. One is the parasympathetic nervous system, the other is the sympathetic nervous system. Now, for me, the parasympathetic nervous system's mantra is, I've got your back. And why do I say that? Because it manifests on the back of our body down to our waistline, as well as across to the front to our gut. So parasympathetic helps us feel safe, peaceful, and protected in the world. When we were children, if we met someone that we did not feel comfortable with, where did we feel it? In our gut. And we usually turned to our parents and said, Mommy, I have a tummy ache. May I go to my room? That was the parasympathetic nervous system coming to the forefront to let us know that we did not feel safe around that person. Now, the sympathetic nervous system has to do with our response to stress, shock, trauma, and the way our body responds to that is gearing up for fight, flight, or freeze, as well as shutting down any unnecessary systems that aren't necessary to help us in the fight or flight or freeze response. I mention that because there are, over in Africa, and I love animals, but over in Africa, the lion is the predator, the gazelle is their prey. And the lion always looks for the sickest or the weakest gazelle in the herd and goes after it. And what it does is it grabs it by the neck and it starts to shake it to break its neck. Now, what the gazelle does is the body automatically relaxes all the muscles in the neck. And you know that if your body is relaxed and the muscles are relaxed, there's no resistance there. So the lion can shake that neck from now until doomsday, and it will not break its neck. So when the lion gets tired of trying, drops the gazelle on the ground and walks away. When the gazelle starts to feel like the stress is gone, or the threat is gone, I should say, it gets up. It does not walk right away back to the herd. What it does is it gets up and it shakes off the trauma. Is what it does. And then the rest of the parasympathetic nervous system takes over, helping the gazelle feel safe now, peaceful, and protected, and then he walks back. This is very, very important information. The animal kingdom is always doing things to show us how to deal with stress, and this is one example. So when we are faced with a stressful situation or a trauma, it's very important. Our body has already taken that on. It's gone into our cells, and we need to shake it off. It's not just a psychological thing, it's a physical thing that actually activates and puts us back into parasympathetic nervous system mode, and that's very important. So with vagus nerve reflexology, it helps us respond appropriately to stress, both physically and non-physically. Because we're not just a physical being, we have a mind, we have emotions, we have a spirit. So vagus nerve reflexology literally helps us balance us mentally, physically, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. And that's why this is exciting to me to share with you. There are two ways to work on the vagus nerve reflexes on the hand. And one is through conventional hand reflexology. And let me explain that when you put both hands together, you have an outpicturing of the entire body from head to toe. The left hand corresponding to the left side of the body, the right hand corresponding to the right side of the body. The little finger side of the hand is the outside of the body. So the midline of the body on both hands is on the outside of the thumb side of the hand. It's the midline of the body, it's where the spinal reflex is, and it's also where the main reflex for the vagus nerve network is. And it goes, as you can see on my hand, the X's go from the upper knuckle down along the bony ridge believe it or not, on the palm side, almost down to the wrist, about an inch above the wrist. This is the way to access and reflex the vagus nerve reflex pathway on the hand in conventional hand reflexology. Now the location is outside on the thumb side of the hand from the upper knuckle down along the valley of the bony ridge on the first phalange, which is your thumb, to the end of the first metacarpal bone, to the hollow in the fleshy heel pad on the palm side. Even though it does not show on this picture, the X's are actually the bony ridge is goes down onto the palm side of your hand. So what we want to do is begin in the hollow at the end of the bony ridge on the palm side. Press firmly and slowly on each point up the outside of the bony ridge to the upper knuckle of the thumb with the pad of your thumb of your other hand. Now, if this point is tender, if any of these points are tender, stop pressing and lightly pump the point on and off slowly for 1 minute while gently breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth with a sigh, sort of like this. After 1 minute, if this point is still a little tender, continue slowly and lightly pumping the point on and off for another 30 seconds to 1 minute. Then press this point firmly again. If the tenderness is now gone, continue moving up the bony ridge 1 point at a time, up to the first thumb knuckle. When you reach another tender point, please repeat steps 3 and 4. Then repeat the process on the other hand. In Korean hand reflexology, the entire body is reflected on one hand, which makes the midline of the body in line with the third finger instead of the thumb, as it is in conventional hand reflexology. Now, the reason I have this Mr. Spock's Vulcan hand greeting on this slide is to show you that there is a V that is formed between the third finger and the ring finger. And for me, that stands for vagus nerve. So the way we access and activate not only the vagus nerve network, but the parasympathetic nervous system to help us feel safe, secure, and protected in the world is to grasp both index and middle fingers firmly with your other hand. The thumb of the hand grasping your fingers will rest on the upper palm just below your third finger, which, as it shows in this diagram, is the heart reflex. The finger pads of your holding hand will firmly rest on the underside or the palm side of your middle finger for 1 to 2 minutes. As you are holding these fingers, place both hands on your gut, and then gently breathe slowly in through your nose and slowly exhale out of your mouth with a sigh, like that, for the full 1 to 2 minutes. When you are finished, repeat on the other hand. Thank you for joining me today as we took a glimpse into vagus nerve reflexology and shared with you a couple of self-help tips. Please understand, I am not a doctor. I cannot treat you for any ailment, diagnose or prescribe anything for you. Anything that I have shared with you in this video today, you should contact your healthcare professional before even utilizing any of this information here. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a blessed, blessed day, and I appreciate the opportunity and the honor to be able to share this with you. Bye now.